And we're off. All right, we are back, the VIBE Edu crew. I want to just mention this, and I'm going to throw it to Kim real quick, that we were in a meeting and someone gave us a compliment on the intro video with the DeLorean.
And?
It made me feel like $1 million. That's the and.
I'm like, yeah, that was Josh. That was all Josh.
So keep giving us wonderful feedback on intros. But actually, I was telling Kim that once we do the VIBE Edu event in July 31st and August 1st, that we'll have some videos, some photos of the four of us together, and then I can actually create a montage of all of that material for a true VIBE Edu podcast intro. So look forward to that. Today, we have a brand new topic, a brand new series where we're going to be talking about getting the most out of professional learning. And as we are going into the summer, a lot of folks are starting to focus on that as far as getting, different books, doing book studies, looking at conferences. Obviously, the summer is heavy with many, many conferences that folks are going to be attending. And then, of course, the district has professional development when folks come back. And a lot of districts are setting that up as far as finding speakers and also determining what their initiatives are for the next year. So we thought this would be a perfect time to broach this topic, this subject. And so I'm going to throw it to TJ because I think TJ has a great lens of kind of the 4-part series and how we're going to go about this.
Yeah, so you said you were going to throw it to me, but you know me, I never remember what I just said. So, no, here's what I think the 4 parts should be. I think getting the most. It's really getting the most out of PD. We've talked a lot about professional learning on this podcast. This could be the professional learning podcast, quite frankly, the VIBE Edu professional development podcast. But really what we want to talk about in this 4-part series is your mindset, your approach, getting the most out of professional development. So the first part of the series we're going to talk about today is getting the most out of your school as a professional development site. The second we'll do is getting the most out of state and district professional development. The third, we're going to talk about what to do when you're going to a national conference, how to prepare, how to bring your best self, how to get the takeaways. And then the fourth, we will talk about presenting, actually sharing your ideas at professional development, at conferences, and putting in conference proposals. And I know that's something of interest for people. So that'll be the 4 parts. And I hope everybody's ready to have some fun and come along for the ride. There, I did the intro. Somebody else has to go first, Kim.
You did an awesome job, by the way, TJ.
And I was just thinking, I got to write down some notes. I was writing them down as you were. I was like, no one's going to remember. None of us will.
I wrote notes also, so we're good to go. So where do we want to start with the school, professional development learning, and how can folks get the most on their site?
I think it's mindset first, right? Like you said the word mindset, TJ, and I immediately put myself into a school setting with an individual, group at a single school site. And when teachers come in and they're immediately like put down their laptop, open it up, and like they're pounding away at the keyboard, right? They're like doing all the things. And then for me to have to say, and this goes every single time, I was like, you don't need your laptops. Like you really don't need it today. You don't. And maybe you might be taking pictures of things. I might put something on this anchor chart over here and you might really like it. Like take a picture. Or maybe write down some notes, or we're going to have some conversations and we're going to leave with something that you get to do, not just like type away. And I think that's hard for educators. I think our brains are always going. And it's hard to go in to a professional development, anything, and just go, I'm going to close this tab and I'm going to be curious and I'm going to be open and I'm going to be ready to expand. I mean, that's the core that we always talk about, CORE, curious, open, ready to expand. And you're not going to be any of those things if your brain is somewhere else. If you are attending to your laptop or writing that last minute email or you're on your phone, because your brain is there and it can't possibly be, ready to soak in some new information or experience something new if your brain is somewhere else. So I think your mindset there, that's where we start. I don't know. I'd like it with mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, and I know we're going to get to conferences, but I see people all the time at the conference and they're simply displaced. They're working in the hallway, they're working in the booth, and they're not in the session, or they're in the session, but they're doing email. And it's like, if that's the case, then maybe don't go to the conference. Like, and we'll get to this, but like creating the time and space for you to actually enjoy and learn. But when you were talking, Kim, I was thinking on mindset, it's like learning and doing, not just learning. Like I want part of that mindset, especially site-based stuff, because it's typically an initiative, or it's typically a mandate, or it's typically a curriculum, and you have to do it. But a lot of times it's wasteful because we spend the time learning and then nobody actually enacts what we learned or puts it into practice, even if it is quote unquote mandatory or an expectation. And then all of a sudden we have a wasted PD and a wasted curriculum resource. So part of my mindset is I'm going here to learn something that I'm going to do, and I'm going to do right away within, at least within, a minimum of 2 weeks, no more, I should say a maximum of 2 weeks go by. And so, yeah, we could say more about that from an administrative perspective, but when I'm showing up to my site-based PD, I'm not just trying to figure out what's going on. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it.
I think that mindset, and Mitch, I think you've had this happen to you, is the participants that are in the session are like, do we have to do this? Is this something that's going to continue? And they have these doubts of, and probably based on the previous experience with their administrative team, of this is probably just going to fall to the wayside. So this is a waste of my time. So I'm not going to have the mindset of growth here. Instead, I'm not going to be present. I think presence is probably another way of saying that, to what Kim and TJ were talking about, of when I know all of us probably I know I move a lot when I speak, and when I'm moving, I'm also very cognizant of people doing other things. It is distracting because I can tell that, oh, this person over here in this corner is searching on social media on their phone, or this person over here is on their computer typing out an email, right? And so I think, to everyone's point, like, if you're going to be in that session, hopefully your mindset is in the right space. But also, I think a lot of people aren't present because they just don't see value of something that's going to last for very long. And I know that happens more on the campus level than probably conferences itself. But Mitch, am I correct in saying that you've had people say, like, is this for real? Are we actually going to do this long term?
Yeah. I definitely have had that. And you're bringing up it's almost like a cocktail of, like, okay, leadership and how they're approaching PD, and kind of the trained response of the staff. But what I'm hearing in that, and then another part of that is, so you have the leadership thing, you have the presenter. So if you're the one giving the professional learning, then if you are actively engaging participants, attendees, then they're less likely to be doom scrolling on social or doing email or stuff that, it might even be stuff they feel like they need to get done. But so there's that part of the PD cocktail, if you will, like, oh, I'm just a sit and get, there's nothing for me to do. And so therefore there's no kind of accountability. But even with that, I think showing up with your game on, game face, as TJ always said, like, doesn't matter how bad this is, even if it's so bad that I'm going to bring a book and this is professional learning time, and I need that as a professional. I want to grow. I'm going to get anything I can out of this experience, regardless of what is happening, unless it's just so, like, ill-placed that you're sitting there like, what are we, I almost can't extract anything from this, but that's pretty rare, I think.
I love the idea of the mindset of, I'm going to do something after this. There is a doing that is going to happen no matter what. I'm going to do something. I'm going to figure out what that is, right? Even if the PD, like you said, is like, what if it's terrible? What if it's absolutely terrible? Well, still, you go in with the mindset of, I'm going to latch on to something and do something, anything afterwards. I was also thinking, I had a leader of a cohort say, you know what, Kim, these teachers that you've been coaching, they get really anxious at the end of every single one of your sessions because you always ask them what they're gonna do. And I was like, because we are not used to the mindset of we learn something and then we go do it. And when I'm holding you accountable and I'm saying, hop into the chat, and what's the one thing that you're going to do? If that's making them feel anxious, we got to talk about that, right? It's not about me like forcing you to do some crazy thing. It could just be, I'm going to turn the lights dim for my students when they come in so that it's calm in the classroom. That could be the one thing. But if your brain is not the curious, open, ready to expand and knowing that I'm going to do something and that's what's expected from the top, we got to work on that first.
I was sitting in so I was just this past weekend speaking at a conference in New York City. And anytime as a speaker, presenter, even keynote, I go to as many workshops as I can because I'm there to learn too, right? I hope people are learning from me. That's an honor. So I'm sitting in this workshop, oddly named Executive Functions for the Classroom. I'm like, well, I better go to that one because that's almost the same name as my session. Mine just has the word every in there. And the funny thing is, side note, you guys are going to kick out of this. I went up to the person. They did a great job, but I'm like, we have to meet. We have to be friends. Like, your session is literally the name of my session and the name of these two books. And she's like, you want to know what's hilarious? I forgot a session title when they asked me to fill out the form. So I submitted everything, but I didn't put a title. So this conference gave her that title. Point being, I'm sitting at a round table and we're doing like turn and talk during the PD, like you kind of do at times. And one of the things was asking, what's your goal for this session? Like, what are you hoping to get out of it? And the two educators, a kinder and first grade teacher, were like, I just want one thing I can try on Monday. That's all I want. I'm just here for one thing. And at the end of the session, I turned to them and I'm like, if you want to get practical, come to these 2 sessions tomorrow. Sarah and I both presented, my co-author. Like, I promise, because there was nothing. I mean, at the end, it was like, I'm not sure how I'm going to, what I can get out of this. Interesting, right? But it was like that practical thing. What can I go try?
Yep.
And see if it works. Get better. You got to show up and try to find those things.
I teach these 2 doctoral classes and they have similar names. One is called Theory into Practice and another one is called Innovation into Practice. And it's just about that. It's about taking ideas and well-intentioned, like books, thoughts, stuff that we should change, and then translating that into doing. Just a quick story when I was about the doing part. When I was a middle school principal, we did walkthroughs. The motto was every teacher, every week. So we saw every teacher every week with feedback, and I could talk more about that. But we would see the teachers every week. And so I would say to teachers, to Kim's point, not at the end, but at the beginning of a PD, I'd say, today we're learning strategies for student discourse. I'm just doing this as an example. But today we're learning strategies to increase student voice and increase student discourse. And in the next 2 weeks, everybody knows you're going to have a walkthrough 1 time per week. In the next 2 weeks, we want to see you implement these strategies in your classroom. So in the next week, if we come in and we just don't happen to see it because you don't happen to be doing it at that time, then we're going to ask you for a date the following week, a date and time when you will be. So if we happen to see it, great. And then we'll give you some feedback on it, check mark. If we don't, then we're going to ask you for a date and time to come the following week to make sure that we do see it. And the point was, yes, accountability and holding people's feet to the fire for the change initiative, but it was a return on investment for our professional development dollars. Number one, it was a strategy that we thought would improve instruction and improve outcomes for students. So that was always our core value. And I also know from experience, and maybe there's some data around this, that if you don't implement that thing, site-based especially, in the next 2 weeks, you're probably not gonna.
Mhm.
And so it's that part of like, I love that attitude that those two teachers had. I just want something I can do
Yeah.
on Monday.
Yep.
I
Monday,
did too.
not
But
Tuesday,
see,
Monday.
that you're speaking though, TJ, more than anything about that leadership component where it's like, hey, we've chosen, selected, curated this professional learning experience over the course of this year.
Right.
And it's going to help. Like, we really fundamentally believe this, right? And so you can lean into the trying. I think the overall approach for any educator going into whatever professional learning, we're talking site-based now, listening to a podcast, listening to us, for example. I don't know if I've shared this with you guys on the podcast. In my work with schools and educators in Hawaii, I've had multiple people over the last few years of doing work there come up to me on different occasions, different trips, totally separate from each other. And it was through like this approach to developing executive functions. So if there's a native Hawaiian expression that sums up this approach that you're pitching. I've told you guys about this.
Say it.
You have, but you should say it again.
It's the perfect fit for this. It's makahana kaike, which is the knowing is in the doing.
Mhm.
There's this knowledge action association. Not necessarily everything, but when you're talking about what we do as educators, teachers, school leaders, like you said, TJ, if you don't do something with it in a couple of weeks, it's analogous to like putting it in your short-term memory. If you don't use it, it's gone. That's the whole point. You just kind of store it there, and then eventually it's gone. And it's the same thing with PD. The knowing is in the doing, right? You gotta put it into action.
And what a waste if not. It's so wasteful. It's just wasteful for teachers, the time that we could be spent doing other things, the money that it costs.
Yeah.
It's just so wasteful.
I was
Mitch,
thinking the same thing, TJ.
Yeah, Mitch, do you incorporate that into your keynote? And then Josh, jump in. Do you incorporate that saying in your keynote? Okay, cool. Because I think that would
New York, first time from the stage, I was like, you know how you just get like a random idea? We say it together in chorus. I teach it to them. But this time I filmed them from the stage. I have a panoramic video of all these attendees saying makahana kaike. It was great.
Did you post that?
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't see that.
No, not yet. We'll see if we get around to it.
Just put it on LinkedIn, dude. She wants you to put it on Instagram. Just put it on LinkedIn. You're on LinkedIn.
Like Instagram.
You should do it on all of the socials.
I don't like any of them.
I know.
We know.
I get around to it. Point being,
the audience also knows at this point.
Yeah, that's why everyone's like, sure, we'll engage. But listen, one thing I will say, as teachers in a professional learning at your school, be sure to welcome the presenter.
Mm.
That's an interesting thing. I remember when I was in the classroom, we had a woman, it was all day PD, and she came and I just was kind of watching. And by that time, I was in her shoes. I was traveling for conferences, working with schools and everything. And I just knew the difference of like a warm welcome, or it's not like people are not trying to not talk to you, but it's almost like you're the expert. Like there's this weird like disconnect kind of thing, right?
Yep.
And this woman, it was like lunch break. We had been at it for like 3 hours. She was doing a really good job, and it was like lunch on your own. And she had flown in from the East Coast, and everyone left, and I was like, I wonder if she has lunch, because the admin, nobody, like, she was just sitting up there by herself. So I just went up and I'm like, do you have any lunch? She's like, no. I'm like, well, I'm going to get a burrito. Can I get you a burrito? And she was like, really? I'm like, yeah. So I brought her lunch and we hung out. I'm like, every time, ever since then, someone walks out and I walk right up, shake their hand, welcome them. So glad you're here. It actually helps for people listening. You don't necessarily think about it because, again, they're the expert. You think they got it all together, but it's nice when people smile and they're like, hey, welcome to our school or our district or whatever it is. Glad you're here. You're like, oh, thanks. So
I had an entire district. They didn't even welcome me when I walked in. Like there were 400 teachers. 400
yeah, and
teachers.
you're like, I guess I'm just gonna go find the microphone. Like,
Yeah, I'll figure this all out on my own. I'm super techie.
Yeah.
I'll figure out everything. And my
That's
team
so
and I,
amazing.
we walked up, we put on our stuff. We kind of just like, well, I guess I'll take this out now. Surely someone will come along and say hello. And then I'm like, I guess, do we get a bagel? Do I get a bagel with cream cheese? Like, do I just wait in line? And I remember I walked up to somebody who looked like they were important, right? Like wearing a suit, wearing some heels, like, right? And I literally said that exact phrase. I was like, you look like you're important. I'm here to be speaking. And then they were like, well, yeah, I'm so-and-so. And it was like this high up person at their district. And I was like, well, hi, nice to meet you. But like as a speaker to have to be the one to engage and all of that. Yeah, I know.
It's
Yeah.
embarrassing. The one time I had to get the group ready. Like they were like, there's the microphone when you're ready.
Yeah.
I'm
And
like,
what'd you
no.
say? What'd you
Like,
say?
yeah. I was like, okay, we're gonna get started here, like hundreds of people. And I just think it's a common courtesy for the principal or somebody to stand up and say, hey, everybody, our speaker's here. Here's what the day is going to look like. We really want you to pay attention. Can we get everybody's attention? Instead of me saying, clap once if you can hear me, clap twice.
Good strategy, by the way.
Although that does work. Yeah,
It does work.
No.
Yeah.
I was thinking there's another one elementary school teachers always say, which is like, and a hush fell over the crowd. And everyone goes, hush. And I was like, I don't want to say that. I don't want to have to say that.
Right.
I used to do in the art classroom hand check. I would make all my students do this because with all the art materials, they were always getting into it before. And so that was like I did it every single day. And so when I would walk into the classroom and the bell would ring, kids would sit down and they would just automatically put their hands up because they knew I was going to ask for it. It's a good way to get their attention. To TJ's point, though, I wanted to come back to what Mitch kind of touched on too, is I think that's just, being present or being mindful when you're coming in. I don't think folks, and I know as a teacher, I was at fault of this, of not taking it serious and also not understanding all of the things that were put into the back end of it. So to TJ's point, right? So your admin, your district, they're putting probably a lot of money into this and a lot of their time as far as constructing the material or finding a speaker or doing a application that goes with it, fill in the blank as to what they're putting together. But there's a lot of time and effort that goes behind the scenes that you're not privy to. And then when you come down to go and see the PD or be a part of that whole day presentation, you're probably not understanding all that's gone into it. And so I think with that lack of information too and understanding, I think it's easy to do that. But you have to understand that it is important, and it's important because of all the things behind the scenes that you don't actually get a eagle eye to, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And who cares if it's like, I mean, I've said this a ton of times on this show, but even if it was haphazard, because I'd like to think Josh, you're right in terms of like everybody here has done that and put like the work that Kim is putting into VIBE Edu right now as a conference.
Oh my gosh.
It's unreal. And in some cases, what we've done to set the stage for PD, the time, the effort, the money at the school, like as a principal, I mean, I'm planning through the school year for next school year and then hiring people and setting the stage and planning the day. But sometimes you work in a site, I can hear our audience saying, yeah, but the last couple of ones I went to were put together last minute, haphazard.
Sure.
They weren't done well. Even if it's that, I'm like that kindergarten and first grade teacher. I'm like, look, I'm going to get something in here today that I'm going to put together and work on for Monday. And then Mitch said, bring a book. At least you can learn something from it. I did have a class one time that was 7 sessions for 5 hours. And I don't know if I've ever said this on the show, but it was 7 sessions.
35 hours?
Yeah, it was a 5-hour class and it was 7 nights. And the lecturer was it was a lecturer and he just lectured. And it was on stuff that I knew well. And so I was going to sit there for 5 and I was like, you know me, I'm like, you know what? I'm getting something from this. So after the first night, I read 6 books. I read a book every night I was there, the whole book.
That's not shocking for what we know of TJ. But you did break Mitch's brain when you said the amount of time.
It was 5 hours.
Coming out of his ears.
5 hours. And maybe if I didn't finish the book, I finished it shortly thereafter. But like I was sure to get the knowledge that I expected from the amount that I paid for that class. That's a true story. And because I knew like I'm going to be here. I have to be here. That's the other thing about the approach to PD. It's a work day. We have to be here.
Yeah.
Why will we squander this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about, like, even if you're in a PD, let's just say, where you feel like you are not walking away with anything tangible to do on Monday, let's just say, I think that something that I would like the listeners to do is then that's your opportunity to seek out something. And you can even use AI to help you get there. So I was in a PD. We talked about this. This was the topic. Is there another book that's similar to this topic that I can read that I can blah, 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 put whatever into practice, right? Is there a podcast that's also like this? Is there someone in education on Instagram that I can follow? So like, even if in that session you feel like it was a waste of time, use that time to go, okay, what can I do to pull me forward that I can kind of somehow relate this to? I think that could be really helpful for teachers too, so they don't feel like they're not walking away with nothing, right? You're walking with a launch pad. Really, that was the launch pad. And now, yay you. It's your opportunity. You get to grab hold of those reins and figure out what your next steps are. I was just kind of thinking about that.
And sometimes it's so high level that it's hard for the people in the audience to connect what I'm doing in my classroom with the concept that you just presented on. And to Mitch's point, sometimes that is so large and theory based that it's hard to then make that connection to what I'm doing every day. What can I bring on Monday to my classroom based on what you just presented? And maybe to Kim's point is that's your opportunity to fill in that gap, to do a little bit more work, more legwork to figure out how that's going to look within your space.
That's so good what Kim just said.
Thank you.
I mean it. I mean, I think one of the things that happens in PD, especially one-off, Kim is 100%. Her internet is not, but she is. I think really one of the things that byproduct of PD, especially one-off PD, and I really hope that site-based PD is like a year's worth of, let's just say, executive function, Mitch's work. We're going to start with Mitch. We're going to start with executive function. And we're going to spend the whole year with this, or SEL or Josh's trauma work. Like that stuff needs to be embedded throughout, not just we're doing one and done. So call out to that. But what Kim said is so good because we come away from PD a lot, and I'm sure you've all experienced this, even with your audience members, where they think they understand something because they were in the room for a few hours. Yeah. And you're like, no, I've been doing research on this for 20 years. And so it's much different to become an expert on something. But what Kim said about a podcast, a book, a national expert, an additional conference, 5 books, like if you're studying professional learning communities, for example, there's tons of books on that. I would not assume you understand professional learning communities unless you read 5 books about it. And call us. We do book studies.
I can't. We need a ticker. There needs to be like
I
some sort
know.
of ticker.
What?
I'll just have
What's
it. I'll
the
just have
ticker
it
for how
scrolling
long
across.
before a book study comes up?
I wonder if I do have a ticker. Let me play with this for a second.
God, stop. No.
We should
Hold
do
on. I
a
think I do.
competition.
Let me.
Competition. Who gets a book study with a school that had heard the idea on this podcast first?
I would love that.
Kim,
Have fun with that.
TJ, Josh, or me?
Let's go.
Go with my books, everybody.
Nope.
Go with
become the
executive functioning. It's the best starting place.
mindset. Right there.
Those are shameful.
Let's
Those
go.
are
I got it.
shameful
I got
plugs.
the ticker.
That's good.
All right. I got too many toys over here that I could play with. So I think this is a perfect time to close this down. I think this was a great introduction. I'll get the ticker off there for a second. But I did want to throw it to Kim, as I usually do, because we are consistently working for the VIBE Edu event here, July 31st, August 1st. And I always like giving the audience a little update. So Kim, is there anything that you want to tease out for this episode?
Yeah, just that ticket sales will open on May 1st. And if any of us have been working with a school or school district of yours, we definitely are giving some tickets at a discounted rate. We're meeting with principals, administrators, just to kind of get you guys like ready to go so that May 1st, like you're already taken care of. So reach out to any of us. If you're listening, you're like, oh my gosh, that's me. Hello. I've been working with Josh or Mitch or Kim or TJ or whoever. Reach out to us. We're ready to give you guys your tickets now. So you don't have to wait until May 1st. But yeah, May 1st, officially they'll go out live.
Awesome. And you probably want to grab your VIP ticket if you're interested, because those are going to go fast.
Yep.
They're
I think we only
almost
have.
gone.
I know. I think we have. They're almost gone.
They
Don't
are
tell the
almost gone.
people. I know. The community got first dibs on all the things, and there are some, but they're almost gone.
That's why you want to be a part of Kim's community. So if you're listening and you're not, you need to go join that right away. So make sure you're clicking on any of the websites, like Kim was saying. You can get in contact with us via our website. So it's in the show notes for everyone. And of course, we'll continue through this series. Right now, we've done the school and the site, but next we'll go into the state and the district level as far as professional learning. And we can't wait to continue this conversation as we're going through the 4-part series. Just a reminder, at the end of the series, we're going to do a VIBE Edu mailbag. And so if you have any questions, either on the topic that we're going through in this series or previous series, please reach out to us and let us know with your questions, and we'll use that for that upcoming episode. If you need anything, we're here for you, especially as we are jumping into professional development season. We are here to support you in a variety of different topics, and this crew has a lot of expertise. So let us know if you need anything, and we can't not wait for May 1st and for you to sign up to be with us in Anaheim, California for VIBE Edu. All right, with that, have a good week.